Today we are going to continue with topic 2, and we're going to focus on angles that are formed by parallel lines cut by a transversal. The goal of this lesson is that you will be able to find any missing angle measurements when you have two parallel lines that are cut by a transversal. So first of all, let's make sure that all of you know what parallel lines are. Parallel lines are lines that continue forever and ever in each direction, and they will never cross each other or intersect. So what I just drew is an example of parallel lines. The symbol for parallel is this right here. Two lines just kind of next to each other that are parallel. That's the symbol. A transversal is a line that cuts across the two parallel lines. So this line here, K, which I'm going to outline in pink, is called the transversal because it's cutting across the two parallel lines. The prefix trans means across. Today we're going to look at, then, the different angles that are formed when this happens, and there are special relationships. So if you notice, I have 8 different angles that I have numbered here that are formed when these two parallel lines are crossed by the transversal, and there are some special relationships that happen among them. The first type of angles that we're going to talk about are alternate interior angles. In looking at these 8 angles that are formed, there are 4 angles that are kind of inside of the parallel lines. They're called interior angles. The remaining angles above and below are called exterior angles. Think about the interior of your house is the inside of your house. The exterior is the outside. So angles 3, 4, 5, and 6 are called interior angles. They're on the inside of the parallel lines. Alternate interior angles means they are on opposite sides of the transversal, and they're alternating. And so angles 3 and angle 6 would be a pair of alternate interior angles. Another pair of alternate interior angles would be 4 and 5. And alternate interior angles have the same measure. So angle 3 is congruent or equal to angle 6, and angle 4 is equal to angle 5. And this will happen only if the lines are parallel. So again, alternate interior angles are angles that are formed on the inside of the parallel lines, and they're diagonally across from each other on opposite sides of the transversal. The next pair of angles I'd like to talk to you about are alternate exterior angles. So again, we're going to focus on these exterior or outside angles. They're above and below the parallel lines. And again, alternating means they are on opposite sides of the transversal, diagonally across from each other. So a pair of alternate exterior angles would be angle 1 and angle 8, and they are equal. Another pair of alternate exterior angles would be angle 2 and angle 7, and they are equal. So again, they're on the exterior part above and below the line, and they're diagonally across from each other on opposite sides or alternating sides of the transversal. So those are called alternate exterior angles. A final type of angle that we're going to talk about are corresponding angles. So correspond kind of means that they match up. So if you notice, I'm going to cover up the bottom 4 angles here. My top 4 angles here are in certain positions. Angle 1 is in the upper left. Angle 2 is in the upper right. Angle 3 is in the lower left. And angle 4 is in the lower right. They're going to match up with the 4 angles below that. So look to here. If angle 1 is in the upper left, the angle that it matches up with in the bottom 4 angles is angle 5. Those are called corresponding angles. They're in the same position. They're both in the upper left. Angle 2 corresponds with angle 6. They're both in the upper right-hand position. Angle 3 corresponds with angle 7. They're both in the lower left. And angle 4 corresponds with angle 8. They're both in the lower right. Now, the neat thing about corresponding angles is that they are also equal. So again, what do I have here? I have angle 1 will be equal to angle 5. They're in the same corresponding spots on the upper left. Angle 2 corresponds to angle 6. That's these right here. Angle 3 corresponds to angle 7, and angle 4 corresponds to angle 8, and corresponding angles are equal if the lines are parallel. All right, so now that we know all the different types of angles that are equal to each other, let's apply that to find some missing angle measurements. So we're given here that line EF is parallel to line GH, and it's cut by this transversal M. We have 8 different angles that are formed, and you're told right here that angle 2 is 50 degrees. Let's use what we've just learned to find the measures of all the other angles. So first of all, I know that angle 2 corresponds with angle 6. So these two are going to each be 50. I also could use the fact that I have some vertical angles. You learned that previously. When two lines are crossing, we have the 4 angles that are made. The ones that are opposite each other are vertical, and they are equal to each other. So if angle 2 is 50, angle 3 is across from it, it is 50. If angle 6 is 50, angle 7 is across from it, it is also 50. Now to find the remaining 4 angles, I need to use the idea that you've already learned, that when you have 2 angles that make a straight line, they are supplementary or add up to 180. So if angle 2 is 50, what would angle 1 be? Well, if these have to add up to 180 degrees, angle 1 would be 130. Angle 4 is vertical to it, so it's 130. Angle 5 is alternate interior to angle 4, so it's 130. Or you could use the fact that 1 and 5 are corresponding. And so on. Lots of ways to figure out all these different missing angle measurements. So I have angle 1 is 130, angle 4 is 130, angle 5 is 130, and angle 8 is 130. All the remaining angles, 3, 6, and 7, and as well as 2, are all going to be 50. So if you notice, all of my angles are one of 2 different numbers. Now what I'd like you to do is see if you could apply that. If you would, just get out a piece of scratch paper or your composition book and see if you can answer the questions on this page. Hit pause, and when you've got them all answered and you're ready, go ahead and hit play. Okay, you can check your answers with mine. Notice number 1, the vertical angles, they're the ones that are opposite each other when the 2 lines are crossing. So 1 and 3 are vertical, 2 and 4 are vertical. Same thing happens down here. 5 and 7 are vertical, 6 and 8 are vertical. And vertical angles are equal. That's very important. You'll need to know that when you get to high school geometry. Number 2, alternate exterior angles. Again, you want to look on the exterior, the parts above and below the line. 1 and 7 are exterior, 2 and 8 are alternate exterior. Pairs of corresponding angles. Corresponding angles are in the same position from the top to the bottom. So angle 1 corresponds with 5. They're both in the upper left of their set of 4 angles. Angle 2 and angle 6, they're both in the upper right of their sets of 4 angles. Angle 3 goes with angle 7, and angle 4 goes with angle 8. Pair of supplementary angles. There are so many different options for supplementary. I just listed a few. Remember that any 2 angles that come together and make a straight line are going to be supplementary. So I listed the possibilities for the top 4 angles, but the same types of relationships exist for the bottom 4 angles also. And finally, problem number 5. Please check all of your angle measurements to see if you got them all right. Notice they're all either 120 or 60. Okay, now it's time for you to practice this. Please go ahead and do page 20 in your packet.